This is the School Success Podcast, a podcast for school leaders to learn from other school leaders what's working and what's not, and to get inspiration and encouragement, as well as strategies to grow school enrollment, connect with families, retain teachers, recruit teachers, and everything in between. You guys are heroes, and I cannot thank you enough for pouring into this next generation that's coming behind us. My goal is you will take at least one thing away from every episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. Please enjoy the School Success Podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation.
Time for school.
Hey, School Success Makers. Welcome to another edition of the School Success Podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Slater. I'm joined by a new friend out of the great state of New Mexico, and it is Mr. Pastor Vince Torres, who is the manager of donor relations and one of the founding families for Santa Fe Christian, and obviously they're in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I got connected with him through the Herzog Foundation, and been just enjoying to get to know a little bit about their school and what they're doing, and him and his wife's heart behind getting the school started. And so we're going to dive into some fun things today, but specifically in donor relations and donor management, and to grow some funds and raise some funds for your school, which comes up a lot in the schools that we talk to on the podcast. So hoping you guys are able to take at least one thing away from today's episode so you can take it back to your school to make it better than it is right now. But before we dive into all those things, I'm obviously going to pass it off to Vince to introduce himself. So Vince, welcome to the podcast today, sir.
Mitchell, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for working the schedule so we could both make this happen. Man, what an honor it is to talk to you, and so thankful for the incredible work of the Herzog Foundation. As you mentioned, I'm Vince Torres. I'm a pastor, one of the founders of Santa Fe Christian in beautiful Santa Fe, New Mexico. Married to my wife, Tiffany, who's the principal of the school for 17 years. And we have two beautiful children, Brooklyn and Gavin, who are 12 and 9 and in this school. So, man, what a joy it is to get on here and talk about something that I'm very passionate about, and that's Christian education.
Amen, man. Well, hey, thank you for being flexible on your time as well, and for taking time out of your day to hop on and talk for around a half an hour or so. It's going to be fun. And before we dive into all this stuff, I always ask everybody the same question to kick us off. And it is this: if I was to visit you in Santa Fe, New Mexico, what would you say, Mitchell? You need to eat this and do this to experience Santa Fe, New Mexico.
You need to eat chili for sure. That's what we are known for. Have some incredible local hot spots that are favorites of ours, but definitely eating chili. And then, although it's not in Santa Fe, we just actually wrapped it up in Albuquerque, which is about an hour south of where we are. And that is the International Balloon Fiesta, which just wrapped up this last week, one of the most photographed events in the entire world. So Balloon Fiesta and get some chili. That'll give you a good taste of Santa Fe and New Mexico as a whole.
Love it. Is that the hot air balloon thing?
It is, yes.
I have heard of that. I did not know that was in Albuquerque. How far away is that from Santa Fe?
About an hour.
Okay. It's really funny you mentioned that, because I guess my wife knew that was coming up, because you showed me a picture a few months ago being like, one day we need to go to this thing. And I was like, that looks incredible.
It's a great experience.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, good to know. I've been to New Mexico one time driving through, and I know I was in Albuquerque specifically. So I don't know the area super well, but I have been there one time at least driving through. So diving in today, your school, here's what we'll do first. I know you are obviously one of the founding families. Give everybody just a quick little background on Santa Fe Christian, and then we'll dive into some more of the specific questions in terms of like donor relations and donor stuff.
Yeah, so my wife and I, we're homeschooling our kids through the COVID pandemic. Didn't necessarily see ourselves as a homeschool family. In fact, my daughter had already started in the local public school. But during COVID, we pulled them out. Education here was a little bit of a disaster, as it was in many places during that time period, and kids were doing stuff online. We knew that wasn't going to work for her. And so my wife stepped out in faith and started homeschooling our daughter, and homeschooling my son at the time, who was only 4 years old. But it prompted some conversations that we revisited, having talked about it many, many years before that, but the lack of a evangelical Christian school in our community. And so we started talking through it, and definitely had a revived passion for that. Worked with a couple friends of ours, the Chavez family and the Custard family, and got together with them and just started praying about what it would look like for us to maybe help launch something and in Santa Fe. And so through some prayer and some interest meetings, we decided to just take another step of faith, a big one, and start the thing. So we did that. with just 17 kids in grades K through 4. So started out in more of a micro school model, and we're now in year 4. We have a little over 60 kids, and we've now expanded all the way from kindergarten through 7th grade. And our plan is to add 1 additional grade per year. So God's done some incredible things, opened up some doors for us to be housed in a local church with some friends of ours who basically came to us and said, look, our church is vacant throughout the week. We have these classrooms. Why don't you utilize them? And so they allowed us to kick off our school there. And man, it's just been an incredible partnership, and God's doing some incredible things through our school.
Amen. I love that. And I wish every church in the country had a school in it in some capacity, whether the church is running it themselves or somebody is renting it or using it or they're donating it, whatever. Like, it does pay me a little bit to see empty church buildings during the week and they're only used a couple days a week. So man, I love that they're willing to open it up, because you guys are not, I don't believe you're affiliated with the church specifically. I don't think, right? Are you guys fully separate? You're just using a facility?
That's correct. So we started the school, and we opted to be just our own entity, which created a really neat opportunity for us to circle back to the entire church community and say, look, we know several of you have been passionate about Christian education, but we don't expect you to start it. We'll start it, and we would just like your support. And that's actually what prompted the conversation with our folks at First Baptist Church of Santa Fe. And they said, well, we'd love to be part of it, and what we can offer you is a place to meet. So incredible partnership there.
I love it. Well, obviously, when running a school, there's this thing called money that gets involved. You know, you got to get donations, and people got to pay tuition. Or if you don't have money for whatever reason, churches just don't, or schools don't function without money. So, the little thing about money and how to ask for it, and some donor relations and events, all these things. So, let's dive into. I know we're just gonna have some good dialogue back and forth on this. So, let's start with this. What are the main things right now that you guys do to bring in money aside from tuition? What are some other ways you guys right now at the school at Santa Fe bring in donor dollars right now?
Yeah, so our fundraising efforts are every year round. It's one of the things that we communicated to our board members as we brought them on board, is the idea that every single one of us is in development. We're all in the business of raising money for the school so we can keep tuition affordable and offer tuition assistance to those who need it. And so for us, we have 2 major events that we do in addition to some very strategic pushes throughout the year. But we do an annual golf tournament, which has always proven to be a good moneymaker for us. We have great buy-in from the community. We just had our most recent one about a month and a half ago, and it was great, very successful. And then we do a fundraising banquet, and it alternates. Sometimes it's in the spring, sometimes it's later in the year. But those are our 2 big fundraising events. And then obviously we're completing applications for grants and seeking out other assistance just throughout the year. We do a strong year-end fundraising push, beginning with Giving Tuesday in November, but through the end of the year. And then throughout the year, we just have a faithful board, and also through the efforts of what I do, who are just constantly kind of putting ourselves out there and asking folks to consider supporting us. So it really is a year-round effort, but we have focused our big things around a couple things, and that is the golf tournament and then our annual banquet.
So you mentioned the golf piece, like, hey, it's successful. The gala, the banquet, it's successful. How do you guys judge if it's successful or not? Is it truly just, it's this much, it cost us $5,000, we made $10,000, it's successful? Or is there how do you guys gauge that? Because I'm sure people are listening too, because I've heard golf can be a really good, and I've heard people, it can go completely wrong where they don't make a ton of money and it's a ton of time and resources that goes into it. How would you say for you guys, judging if it's a success or not, for also the listeners to go, oh man, maybe ours isn't successful than what I thought it was? Like, what would you, how would you answer that?
Well, I will tell you that our fundraiser has been successful every year. We've never had a bad year. And granted, we've only done this now 4 times, but every year has been a significant moneymaker for us. A lot of that depends on what sort of arrangement you work out with the golf course itself, as far as what you're going to have to pay per golfer. But also, we have a heavy push on sponsorship. So it's not just a matter of people paying $125 to golf for the day. We actually offer pretty lucrative sponsorship opportunities where folks can get their names on banners, get their names on different whole signage sponsorships. They can sponsor the lunch. So the idea behind anything that we do that I'm always trying to do is get everything underwritten. So there's no possible scenario in which we don't come out of this making some money. Through sponsorships, be it the golf tournament or even through our banquet, are a great way to do that. So I'm a huge fan of golf tournaments. Again, negotiate that price down as low as you can with the local golf course. Thankfully, our local municipal course has always been willing to work with us, and so we've never really had a bad year. And I can tell you, this last year, this most recent one, we're coming out of it. We made a little over $25,000 off of the golf tournament. So, and we've never made less than that. So
That's awesome. All right, so sponsorships, I know that is a huge piece of it. So you're trying to get it underwritten as much as possible. I love that. For those listening going, oh, I love to do a golf tournament because 25,000 sounds awesome. What would you say like the first step is? Like they need to just go negotiate with the local golf course first and see what even's possible, set the bar of like where's where we need to get to, and then just start knocking on business doors. And so you're trying to get sponsorships, or what would you say the action plan to get somebody launching one of these would be?
yes, so for us, I can tell you, we did start with the golf course and said, hey, we'd like to have an event. Looked at some calendar dates, made sure we weren't conflicting with some of the other fundraisers that they were having in town, so we weren't fighting with other nonprofit organizations for teams and for participants. So we started with them, got to a price that we were comfortable with. In the case of our golf course, they also have a full kitchen, so we negotiated in lunch as part of that to feed the golfers at the turn or at the conclusion of the event. And then from there, we started building out, okay, what does this look like? What does a platinum sponsorship look like? And what does it include? So if they're going to have this much money donated, their banner is going to have their logo by itself. They're going to get a full team, included in that. They're going to get some nice polo shirts. They're going to get some handouts. They're going to get a certain number of raffle tickets. And so we built everything out. And by the way, we didn't reinvent the wheel. We started looking at what are other Christian schools doing. So we literally just scoured the web to try to have a place that we could start, and found a bunch of different things and kind of created our own. And we used our first year as kind of a test year. Let's see, our prices, our sponsorship costs, are they consistent with what's happening in some of these other local nonprofits and what they are doing here in town? Are they too low? Are they too high? And then from there, we did exactly what you said, just started reaching out. All of us, I told folks, start with the people that you know. We all know business owners. Ask them if they'd be interested in sponsoring a hole or maybe coming in at a higher level. And then get your folks from your churches who like to golf. Hey, you want a reason to play hooky on a Friday? Come play in our golf tournament. And this last year, we had over 120 golfers show up. So again, just a great success. But yeah, it started with the golf course themselves, and we've had now a relationship with them. We've used them 3 out of the 4 times that we've done it. So they're already asking us, hey, when do you want to do it next year? And like I said, by the grace of God, it's been successful every year.
That's awesome. All right. So, and I would tell people even to accompany this, if you're like, okay, I got some ideas from Vince, sweet, like plug all this into AI, ChatGPT, and be like, I'm wanting to run a golf outing with this idea. Here's what I want to do. And let it like come up with ideas, or like just give you other fundraising ideas that are out there. There's nothing short of ideas, of course, that are out there. It's just like the actual execution and getting it to be successful is another piece of that puzzle.
That's right.
I know that what I love about this one is you can get people outside of the school to be a part of it.
Yes.
That is a huge piece of this. And the reason I say that is there's a school that I knew of that's in our area here, and they do this fundraiser every year. And it's fun. But I remember asking the head of school, I said, how much did you guys make this year? And she's like, oh, we made $5,000. And she was very excited about that number. And I looked at all the people who had volunteered their time, donated their resources to put on this event for them to make $5,000. I was like, you lost so much money in the grand scheme of things, because you just you looked at all these people volunteering and donating, again, resources. And then all the people I looked around, it was all people from the school that were coming to the fundraiser. I was like, man, you could have just asked people to give you $20 and you probably would have made more money, like in the grand scheme of things, from your existing people. So I would encourage you guys, whoever's listening, like, don't tap into your existing families who are already paying you money for tuition. Like, not saying that they can't donate, but that should not be your focus, because you don't want to abuse that. You don't want to run them dry, I guess. What would you say, I guess, to that?
I agree with that 100%, and it is one of the benefits that we have of not being identified exclusively with like one church in town, that we are just our own entity. So there's even just some benefit in that, because it's not just random folks in the community, it's predominantly the greater church community that is supporting this. But even that, we get players from teams that, they're business sponsors, and so they're not even part of the church community, or they're not even part of our Santa Fe Christian community, but they want to come and have an excuse to play golf and support a good cause. So you make a great point. If you're just looking within your existing pot of tuition payers, that's not your donor base. Now that they may want to give above and beyond. I have parents who own businesses in our school who sponsor the tournament every year. They buy a team, but not because we solicit them. That's not who we are after. As you said, they're already paying a hefty price in tuition, and so they're not our donor base. We had to go out and find other supporters outside of our school family. And the good thing is our experience has been, once you get them bought in, they become repeat donors. They're, hey, next year sign me up at the same level, or increase. You mentioned making $5,000 off of a golf tournament, which we're thankful that it certainly wasn't in the negative. But I can tell you, there's much more lucrative opportunity out there if you expand your scope and go to some of these businesses who, for many of them, love the idea of just seeing their logo on something, especially when it's well attended like ours is. It's great publicity for them, but they also get some positive, association with their business and whatever the school has done. And I can tell you, I've had local businesses actually say this is a really good advertising opportunity for us. So yes, we're happy to support the school, but also you have a bunch of folks showing up. They see that we sponsor, and we'll ask folks when they come through the business, how did you hear about us? Oh, I saw you were a whole sponsor at the Santa Fe Christian Golf Tournament. So again, there's plenty of added benefit to them as well.
Hey, school success makers, Mitchell here. I just want to take a really quick break from the show to give a big, huge shout out to the Herzog Foundation. I absolutely love the Herzog Foundation. I've been friends and partners with them for a couple of years now, but we're bringing it to a whole new level. And I'm excited to share that our very own School Success podcast is now featured on the Herzog Foundation Podcast Network. The Herzog Foundation is a powerhouse of resources designed to support schools like yours, from free training events through the Herzog Foundation Institute to their incredible online news publication, The Lion, and of course, our new podcast, Home. They have everything you need to stay informed and inspired. And if you're dreaming of starting your own Christian school or co-op, don't miss their online course, Schoolbox. It's a fantastic resource to help you get started on the right foot. At School Success, we're proud to partner with the Herzog Foundation to bring you these valuable tools and insights. So visit herzogfoundation.com to explore all they have to offer. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on these amazing opportunities for growth and success. And I love all the people over there, and I know you guys will too. So please go check them out, and you won't be disappointed. Now, back to the show. That's awesome. And it's something, again, like you said, you can repeat every year, which I like. So if people like golf, which obviously a lot of guys like golf, and it's if you could play the whole competition piece into the play of like, the winner gets this. If you think you're good enough to win this, I mean, you can totally play it, like stroke the ego part of it. I'm sure you could do if you guys aren't already doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now they have a good time. It's very competitive, serve some good food, and man, it's just an incredible day. I get to cruise around in one of the golf carts, just talking to everybody, which is also just amazing to talk to the folks and tell them a little bit more about the school, which then opens up other opportunities for you to solicit them at some other time, so.
Yeah. So I know there's, when I talk to some schools, the idea of asking for money, asking for sponsorships, any of that stuff just freaks them out, makes them cringe. They're like, no, I just want to teach students, or I just want to like be in my office, my bubble. What would you say? Is there some like ideas, encouragement that you would say, hey, like, here's what I do, or here's what I've learned to make it easier for asking people for money or getting these donors or partnerships?
Well, number one, I don't think that's the job of the teachers and the staff to also be, fundraising on the side. Teaching and leading a school, as my wife does, and I know our staff does, that is plenty of work as it is. And the idea of then utilizing them to then go ask for money is I wouldn't recommend that. I have to give a ton of credit to our school board. Our school board, again, we're all brought on board with the idea that every single one of them would be responsible for fundraising at some capacity. We don't have a set number tied to that, but the idea is we're all in this, and your job as board members, a big part of that is going to be fundraising because of the responsibility that the board has to support the financial viability of the school. And so we have an incredible board. We also have, I personally, I don't have problems asking for money. So, I would encourage all of your folks, find someone who doesn't have a problem asking for money, who likes to fundraise. There are people out there who actually enjoy it. But also make sure that your board is supportive and that you get them out and involved in this, because I think they are the ones who should be taking the lead on a lot of this. And then my instructions to our board when we first brought them on, I have some fundraising experiences. Start with the people you know. Every single one of us can sit down and write down a list of maybe 10 to 20 people that we know. If we ask them, they will give something just by virtue of the relationship. So again, don't start with 100, cold calls. Write a list of 10 to 20 people, and you probably have some idea of what their giving capacity is, and reach out to them, and that's how we started with the board. I have that. My list is longer than 10 to 20. I probably have closer to 50 people on my list. And then it's a matter of just nurturing those relationships. So it's not a one-time ask, it's follow-up. When you receive the gift, make sure you circle back with a thank you call, an email, a thank you card. If it's a significant gift, I send a gift of thanks to them. Usually at the end of the year, it's usually around Christmas that they'll get a little something from us saying, thank you for your investment in our school. So again, you have to have that consistent cycle of nurturing those relationships. And if you have a board that's all willing to buy into that, and let's say you have 6 or 7 people, or in our case, like a total of around 8, doing that throughout the year, the money starts to come in and it's consistent. So again, there are lots of folks out there, I can tell you, even in a state like New Mexico that's more liberal and blue, lots of people here who care about Christian education. And it's been amazing to see what happens when you're just willing to have that conversation. I tell folks that, when it comes to supporting our school, I don't feel like I'm a beggar begging for crumbs. My conversations go much more along the way of, I know you care about this. I know this is something you're passionate about. It's something you should support. I'm not even asking, I'm telling a lot of these folks, I know you care about this. This is something you should be supporting. And it's amazing to see how those conversations go when people feel like I'm more than a donor now. I feel like I'm vested into this school. And they love the follow-ups. I'll send little periodic emails just saying, hey, you gave significantly this year. I want to give you a little peek into what that looked like. And we'll send a picture of, the kids in chapel, or send a picture of the kids doing something. I have one foundation that donated money so we could buy tablets for the kids when they take their year-end assessments. So I got the teachers to take photos of the kids using those tablets. I put it into a nice little collage, had it framed, and delivered it to them and said, thank you for your gift. That way they see a direct connection between the check that they wrote or the credit card that they entered into the website and the actual work of the school. So the follow-up and the nurturing is super, super important. And that's how you can take a one-time donor and turn them into a recurring giver.
Man, I got multiple things I want to comment on that I love that you said. So those that are listening, listen up. So 2 things that he said that I think stood out the most on that is, 1, you're not doing just an ask every year, and that's what they go, oh, here's Vince again. He's just here to ask for money, because that nobody wants to have that. Nobody wants to be like, oh, geez, here he is again. He's trying to be really nice, and then boom, there's the ask.
Yep.
Like, you build up relationships with them. You take them out for breakfast, maybe dinner. You send them a card, send them a gift, keep them up to date with what the heck the school is up to and what they're doing. So like, you don't want them always thinking you're going to ask for money every time you're talking to them. So I love that. Building the relationship is key. So, and I'm sure you might already have some of these stories, but you'll probably have them for years to come, where you started with somebody where maybe they didn't give the first year or 2, or gave really little, but now they're a $10,000 check writer every year, a $100,000 check writer. I've heard some crazy stories from schools where the people had the capability, but they didn't do it till they knew that they trusted the process and trusted the school with what they were doing. And so I love that as a one piece. The second piece I love what you said is making sure they're thanked personally with what they were able to do and what they were able to give. The framed piece, I love that. And we talk about, obviously, scripture wise, like, do your giving in secret. And it's like, I think that's a way of doing that in a very tasteful way, of not like, hey, we're going to bring you up on the stage at an event and make sure people know that you did this. It's like, no, it's like, we want to make sure we honor you for like your contribution and know that we see you, and you're not just getting a copy and pasted printed thank you card that I sign at the bottom. Thank you for your donation to Santa Fe Christian. Here you go. It's like, no, like, we are so appreciative of this, and here's proof of it. Like, you took the time. I mean, you're gonna create a donor for life, like what you're talking about with doing an extra step. And I would say those that, I mean, there's plenty of schools that are just lazy. I'll just say it. They're very lazy when it comes to this. They're like, oh, we got to ask people for money every year. Here's the ask. And they ask again next year. There's no personalization to it. And so if you guys are being lazy with your donor development and all that, man, you guys are a different way to do it and a better way to do it. And it sounds like you guys are doing all the right things, but only being 3 or 4 years old, which is awesome.
No, it's been an incredible experience and a learning experience for even our board members, who some of them, this isn't natural for them. You know, I've been trained in fundraising, I've fundraised in other areas, and so I don't have a problem with that. But the fact that they were willing to step into that and to learn what it looks like, more than anything, is what you're talking about. It's that nurturing component. That's super important, and that's where a lot of folks kind of fall flat. They allow that auto-populated message at the end of when you click submit, like "thank you for your gift," to be the end of it, and these people never hear from you again. But again, taking advantage of opportunities, even to find out from your donors, hey, when's their wedding anniversary? When's their birthday? I have all of those notes in my donor list, and so it's not just a hey, this is what the school's up to, but making those personal touches throughout the year to say, happy anniversary to your family. Hey, happy birthday. Hope all is going well with the family. By the way, man, some incredible things happening at the school. Would love for you to come and take a visit and tour the school. That's another thing. Get them to the facility, get them to the school. I love inviting donors and other folks to come pop into our chapel. When you see, kindergartners with their eyes closed and their hands raised, worshiping God, that is your best sales pitch you will ever need. And it's genuine, it's authentic, it's not faked, it's not a facade, it's not a show. But if you can actually get them to the school to see what God is doing, more often than not, that's enough. Where some people are just like, take my checkbook. What do you need? What do you need? And kind of a neat story. Even, we've gotten to a place now where with certain folks, they circle back to me or they circle back to us saying, hey, what do you need this year? Do you need me to give again? So there's some folks, we're not even having to circle back and say, hey, it's that time of year again. We wanted to ask. I just got a letter from a foundation saying, hey, we love what the school is doing. It's been great to partner with you. We're going to be having a board meeting in December. If you have another ask for us, just get it in by November. So, I mean, you've got now the organizations and the donors coming to us saying, hey, what else do you need? And what an incredible place to be in as someone on the other side saying, yeah, sure. We definitely could use your help again. And we'd love to partner with you again.
And being specific too. I would love to see if you guys are, when you do have an ask, are you being specific? Because I know there are schools that are like, hey, donate to the school. We need money. We need whatever. It's to the building fund or the whatever. It's like there's that side. Then there's the schools that I see do really, really well when they get super specific. They're like, hey, we need to raise $10,000 to be able to retile the floor. Or we need to do playground systems. It's going to cost $50,000, and we need 40 more. Like, when there's a specific thing, I feel like the donations go way up because they see a tangible thing attached to it and there's an actual goal in mind. Do you guys do that, or is it more general when you're asking for money?
We do it all. And in some of that, we have found, you make a great point. Some of it comes down to the personality of the donor. I have some donors that love to give to something very specific. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be tangible. I had a donor one year write us a check and say, I want this to go to Christmas bonuses for the teachers. I want to support them. I know they could be making more elsewhere, but use this money and give them a little bonus during the Christmas break. So usually it's based on the personality of the person, or in some cases the mission of the foundation. So if the foundation is specifically focused on increasing literacy, then we tie in the ask specifically to something that's going to benefit our literacy program. But I'll be honest with you, we have lots of folks who are very, very passionate about providing tuition assistance. That is probably our greatest push, is that if you want to give to our tuition assistance fund, we are looking to give out X number of dollars this next school year to children with a demonstrated need. Your gift could be the difference between them being able to attend and not being able to attend. And we have lots of folks who say, I'll give my money to that. Thankfully, we also have some another handful of donors that are just, I love what you're doing. Use it wherever it's needed. General operations, whatever it is, we trust you're going to steward it well. We trust you're going to use it well. So just take it and use it. So again, a lot of that comes down to getting to know the personality of your donors, the missions of their foundations and organizations, that puts you in the best position that when you make the ask, you know how to ask. You bring up a great point. If I have a donor that I know loves to give towards something tangible, that's when I create the ask around, hey, great news. Those tablets that you donated, man, we're still utilizing them, but our kindergarten class grew and we need 10 more. Would you be able to cover that? And they're, yeah, absolutely, done. So
Yeah.
yeah, get to know the donors, but I do have a lot of folks that like to give to something more specific, and there's no shortage of opportunities for us to share with them how their money can specifically be used to bless the school.
Well, it's been 3 to 4 years you guys have been open for doing this. Has there been any flops in fundraising where you're like, we tried this and it just did not go smoothly, and so we're not doing that anymore? Is there anything like that that's happened yet?
Yeah, we've had some small fundraising ideas and projects, handing out little money bags and the kids take them home and fill them with change and stuff. That's one example. But I think that you brought up something earlier that's very, very important, and that's you have to weigh the amount of work against the maximum output, like the maximum receipt. So if we're going to go through all of this work and it's going to take X number of dollars, X number of volunteers, X number of weeks for us to make $2,500, like you said, that literally is not worth it, especially if you're putting that like on your staff or putting that on your students or your existing families. And so what we've tried to do is get to a place where we don't want our donors to experience fatigue with us. We don't want our parents to experience any sort of fatigue with us either. And so people kind of know now the school does the golf tournament fundraiser, they do the annual banquet, and they do a strong year-end push. That's basically it. So our kids aren't selling Christmas wrapping paper like during the holidays. They're not selling popcorn. We don't do any sort of fundraising for our kids. I know some other schools have like fundraising requirements for the families. We've decided that onus is on us as the board, as the fundraisers. So our kids, they're not little Amway consultants trying to sell people stuff all the time. We just decided that is not how we want to do this. And so now that the community and our supporters know, really there's three big asks during the year. They're going to ask us to, put a team or sponsor the golf tournament. They're going to ask us to attend the fundraising banquet. And at the end of the year, they're going to ask us to devote some of our year-end funding, toward their cause. And that's where we focus our asks.
I love that it's tangible too. It sounds like when people are applying to the school and talking with you guys, you are sharing that at the very beginning that, hey, we have these three things we run each year. We have this golf fundraiser, the gala, and a year-end ask. Is that correct? You tell them that at the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that because I don't like being caught off guard for stuff like that, because then I feel like I'm in an awkward situation of like, well, shoot, if I had known, then I maybe could have done this, this, this. I like that it's known, like at the beginning.
It's known, and it's a soft invitation to participate if you want to. There's not an expectation, and I don't think any of our families would tell you, man, this school is constantly like hitting us up for money above and beyond tuition. We just don't do that. I think the other thing is to always just be careful about is managing expectations, right? Like our gala this last year looked very different than our first year. Our first year, we didn't have a whole lot of money. We didn't want to lose money. And so it was in our church, by the way, carpeted gym, a church gymnasium with a few tables. And we brought in a good friend who is a state representative. She was our keynote that first year. And we did it for next to nothing. The food was donated. She donated her time, and we, raised a little bit of money off that. Fast forward to this last year, we have the Santa Fe Convention Center booked out, over 200 people in attendance, and we managed to get Kevin Sorbo, Hercules, and his wife Sam Sorbo, who was Serena in the show, as our keynote speakers again. But that didn't happen in year one. That was building upon each year a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and trying to figure out how do we keep this successful and not put ourselves in a position where we overextend ourselves and land up losing money, because some of these events can do that. So you got to build up to something. And now we obviously have this fundraising event that the community is accustomed to seeing, and they expect it now. And they're wondering, man, I wonder who they're going to get this next year type thing. So just manage your expectations and don't be afraid to start small. Our school in every respect started super small golf tournament fundraiser, small fundraising gala, small enrollment, 17 kids, in the first year. And then just allowing God then to, hey, Lord, like whatever growth we experience, we want it to be from you. We want it to be manageable. And we've just kind of taken that parable of the talents and applied it to ourselves and said, Lord, as you continue to entrust more to us, we want to continue to invest it. We don't want to hoard it, but we also don't want to be reckless with it either.
So there's probably a ton of schools listening going, man, I just want to hire Vince to come work at my school and do this for my school. And so there's schools, like you mentioned a good point, like, hey, teachers should not be the ones that are like doing all these fundraising things and asking and building donors and all that. Do you feel like, because we have quite the listener base when it comes to different sizes. So we have, schools with over 1,000 students, and we have some that are like under 50 students, like micro schools that listen in. And so there's some schools that might be like, man, I would love to have a Vince working with us that's in charge of just donor relations, donor development, but we can't afford to pay him. Or if we pay him $50,000 and he's winning, he gets $25,000 for a golf tournament, that hasn't even covered his salary. And so, like, what do we do in this situation? So what would you say to that school that either can't afford to hire somebody that's fully dedicated to that, or should they raise up somebody at the school to be in charge of that? How would you tell a school to encourage them in that area?
So number one, I do all of this volunteer basis. I don't get paid anything. So this is all side work for me in addition to my job and my ministry. So I work for free, and I don't even like saying work for free. I work for the joy of this ministry that I am blessed to be a part of. All of our board members unpaid as well. They do it completely on the side. And so I don't think this is something, for the larger schools, they probably have like a full development team in place. For those of us that are smaller, this is not in the budget. This is not something that you can payroll for. And so my recommendation is that's where you have to be very strategic and making sure that you surround yourself with a solid board and find someone within your school community like me who's passionate about this and is willing to do it. I can tell you that there are a lot of folks out there that, again, raising money for them is not a problem. Find folks who are vested in the community, who know the local business owners, who frequent the local restaurants, who know. And we have a handful of those folks now on the board that come time, for us to garner these sponsorships. Or, part of our golf tournament fundraiser is we have an incredible raffle. Well, we have to get all those items donated, gift cards and golf bags and everything. And I got an amazing godly woman on our board that has no problem walking into every restaurant and every business in Santa Fe and literally saying, I need a gift card from you, like, period. She doesn't ask. She tells them, like, I need a gift card from you. Make it 5 if you can. So again, even for those of us that are in the smaller place where we don't have that development person, we don't have a department for this, I guarantee there are people within your community. Maybe it is, a family that attends, or maybe it's just someone else in the community that's particularly passionate about Christian education. Tap them to help you with this sort of stuff, and like I said, it doesn't have to be a line item in your budget. All of our board, and even in my volunteer position, we do it because we care about the cause. And I think in this day and age, there is a rising tide of folks who recognize the value in Christian education, who would be willing to step up and say, that's an area that I can help.
Hey, I just want to take a really quick break from the podcast to highlight one of our amazing partners and sponsors, ClassReach. If you're a new school administrator or founder and are struggling to keep up with all the hassles of planting a new school, like collecting tuition, communicating with parents, or handling student data, then you need ClassReach. ClassReach is the all-in-one software that helps with everything from admissions and tuition to classroom management and parent communications. Sign up for a free consultation with one of their school specialists and see how ClassReach can help your school grow today. You guys can check them out online, classreach.com. They are a kingdom-minded company, and I love their leadership team there. I've become friends with a lot of them. They truly are a great company. I support them, and I love them, and you guys will love them too. Check them out at classreach.com. Now, back to the show. It's good. Well, I love you share a couple final things when it comes to the other two fundraisers. You shared a little bit about the gala, like the dinner one, and then the end of the year ask. Just some ideas or strategies around those two that you're doing that have been successful, and then we'll probably wrap it up after that.
Yeah. So just quickly on the gala. So the gala, we don't sell tickets. It's actually a free event to attend. But there's the people know that there will be an ask at the end of the night. So anyone can attend. They don't pay for a ticket or anything like that. We do try to get the event underwritten ahead of time. So, we had a local restaurant that donated all the food this past year. So that's not a cost. One year we had a member of our city council actually donate the convention center, so we didn't have to pay to utilize it. Same thing with our speakers. Sometimes they They will speak for free, but even those that have a cost associated, we try to get all of that underwritten and covered so that when we come in that night, we can tell our folks every dollar raised tonight actually is going directly to the school. It's not going to pay for this beautiful event. This beautiful event has already been covered and paid for. This is going directly to the school. So my recommendation is, regardless of what sort of fundraising strategy you utilize in selling tickets or having sponsorships, at the very least, try to get the event underwritten. And that removes so much stress for everybody involved as well, because no matter what, we're coming out of this with a nice chunk of money, out of the event. So that goes for the banquet. For our year-end push, we kind of piggybacked on the whole Giving Tuesday thing. To be honest with you, we've had not as much success with the Giving Tuesday promotion, but it has been a reason for us to kind of kickstart that year-end push. So we started with Giving Tuesday, but then we extend it through the end of the year. We have email solicitations that go out. And again, we don't overwhelm people. They're not going to get 25 emails from us. It's a simple series, kind of like a once a week type thing. And then as the money starts to come in, one thing that I will recommend is we update people as to where we are. So we set a goal. So let's say our goal is $25,000 before year end. As that money starts to come in, we update our little thermometer on those email solicitations so people can see, okay, number one, other people are investing in this, the money is coming in. But also it's been great when some people have been like, man, I saw that you're only like $2,500 short of your goal. I'll just take care of that. And so again, by the grace of God, we've never had a year-end goal that we have not met. And in many cases, we have far exceeded it. I will tell you, one year, we tripled what we actually tried to raise come year end. 3 times as much money came in. So again, so much of this is just, now it's on people's radar. They know we're not constantly doing this throughout the year. And also through the other events, we're also offering something of value to them. We're offering them a nice round of golf, at a nice golf course. We're offering them an evening with Kevin Sorbo and Sam Sorbo, where they get to hear about the incredible things they're doing. So there's also some value there. The year-end giving, there's no real value there other than just, hey, this is a big part of our budget. We'd appreciate it if you supported us. And again, it's all glory to God because he has orchestrated all of these connections and stirred in the hearts of so many people to support us. So he gets all the glory for it. But these are just some things that we've learned. And I would encourage folks who are listening in. Again, we went to, before we started the school, we talked to several other Christian schools. I mean, we sought their advice and had some local Christian schools here in New Mexico just be a tremendous blessing to us and, helping us kind of get our thing up and running. And by the grace of God, it was neat. My wife and I actually were assisting another woman who was wanting to start a Christian school in Albuquerque, and we kind of helped mentor her through that process. And they started their Christian school this year. So we've now been able to repeat and keep it going. What we've learned, we pass it off. And so if any of your folks are listening in, talk to other folks who have been there and done that. There's a lot of institutional wisdom and experience, and you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. A lot of us have already tested a lot of this stuff out. We know what works. We know what doesn't work. So take whatever you learned here today, utilize it, copy it, duplicate it, whatever it is. We don't feel like we own any of this. If anything, we feel like this is something that we have that we now need to give to others so that they can take it and pursue whatever God is putting on their heart.
Well, you keep hitting this goal at the end of the year and you tripled it. I think your goal should be $1 million this year, and just, so you can, pack the bank account a little bit at the school, man.
Well, hey, if any of your listeners want to send $1 million to Santa Fe Christian, we will take it. So
sounds perfect. Hey, share one final piece of advice for everybody listening today. It doesn't even have to be on donor stuff if you don't want to, but whatever the Lord lays on your heart, what's one final piece of advice for everybody?
Just be faithful. Be faithful. If God has put this on your heart, know that he has not brought you this far to see you fail, and just continue to walk in obedience. And I can tell you, if my wife were with me, we could tell you this has been the toughest thing we've ever done. We've been part of some pretty amazing things in our state and our community. This has been by far the most challenging. And so hear it from someone. I mean, I'm painting a very, very beautiful picture of what has happened at Santa Fe Christian over the years, but I could spend a whole other hour talking to you about the times when my wife and I were at home saying, I don't think we can do this. It's too difficult. It's too challenging. But just stay the course and trust that so long as even God keeps that door open, even if it's just an inch, be faithful to shove your way through it. And just trust that no matter what, like he has got this. And that's where ultimately we've always had to put our faith, but sometimes we need to be reminded about that, is ultimately this isn't our school, this is God's school. And we're going to trust that he's going to grow it in his time, that he's going to provide for it in his manner. And sometimes that means that we're down to the 11th hour wondering, all right, Lord, like, how is this going to come together? Like we're weeks away from school and we're still not fully staffed. Like, what do we do? Or we're, a couple days away from this deadline for hitting this particular goal, and we're not there. And, our budget this year is clearly the biggest it's ever been. And we're looking at the numbers and saying, how are we going to raise that much? And then it's just always good to remember, give it to the Lord, and he will be faithful. He always is.
Amen. Man, Vince, thank you for obviously taking time out of your day to hop on the podcast and help our educators that are listening in, our school leaders, learn how to do better donor development. And obviously, thank you to you and your wife for following the call to start this school and all the work and the volunteer work you're putting in to make this a success. So wishing you guys nothing but the best.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you having me.
Well, another huge shout out and a thank you to Vince for taking time and being on the podcast today. I love what they're doing over there in Santa Fe, and I'm wishing them nothing but the best as they continue to grow and educate the next generation that's coming behind us. And as always, hoping you guys are able to take at least one, but I feel like you could easily be 2 or 3 today, but at least one thing away from today's episode that you can take back to your school to make it better than it is right now. And obviously, in the world of donor development, there's a lot of areas of improvement there. If you need to, of course, always go back, listen to the episode. Listen to it on 1.5 speed if you need to. It's my favorite thing to do when I listen to podcasts. But there's a lot of really, really good content from today that I'm hoping you guys don't just go, wow, that was really awesome, and then move on, but that you actually listen and go, oh, I can do that thing. And then boom, you go apply it at your school and let it work for you. All right. Well, before you guys go today, I want to make sure you are aware of our 3 free resources that we have available here at School Success. The first one, of course, is the podcast that you're listening to right now. We're dropping episodes every single Monday morning for free. So if you're not already, we'd love you to subscribe. And if you love the content, which we're hoping you do since you're listening to my voice right now, would be pause, 5-star review, and then right back to listening to me again. That would be awesome. We would appreciate it very, very much. Team works very hard to put this out there for you guys each week. So I want to make sure you guys don't miss out on it. The second one is on our website, schoolsuccessmakers.com. Top right-hand corner, there's a button, School Success Report. It's a weekly email we send out to everybody on the list that wants that. And it is different articles the team has either written or found online to help you guys be more successful. It's pretty well put together. So we want to make sure you guys are not missing that. It's going to help you, again, listen to the podcast, you read the report each week. Man, you guys are in good shape as an educator for what you guys are trying to do and what you guys are trying to learn and grow in. So make sure you're not missing out on those. And then last but not least, the trifecta would be to go join the Facebook community. It's called School Success Makers, completely free. I'm personally in there. Would love to see you in there as well. Get to know you and your school and what you guys are up against. And hopefully you guys can build some community in there, because community is so incredibly important in obviously the field that we're in, but also just in general. So make sure you guys got that around you as well. And I think that's all I got for you guys today. So we'll be back here next week with another awesome guest as usual on the School Success Podcast. We'll see you then. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Herzog Foundation.